Yeah. Yep. No, I can take my mask off now. What? Sorry? Yeah. Take my mask off, get off the phone, and say hi to everyone. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Drinks with Kate. Hope you're all doing well. Do you all hate your mask as much as I do? Everyone keeps saying, oh, it's fine, masks are fine. This is my attempt at making a homemade mask. I followed the instructions. I've got two layers of plastic material and some old jeans on the inside, which is supposed to make it very germ trapping. When I put it on my face, it all bunches up around the sides. So I think I'll have to go back to the drawing board and try again on the weekend. Hi, everyone. Hello, McFalls. Hello, Shell. And vegan sausages and veggie pies. Yum. Good work. Hi, Kay. Hi, Jeff. Hello, Craig. Homemade sausage rolls. Excellent. I'm so glad people went the homemade sausage roll option. Very pleased. Now I'm wishing I had some. Hi, Barry. How you going? Hi, Kieran. Hello, Kate. No nibbles. Cooking. Okay. Oh, yum. Thanks, Kate. It's a very ugly mask, actually, but I'm working on it. Hi, Ansel. How you going? Hi, Nina. Roast lamb. Hey, guys, that's fantastic. I've got dogs fighting in the background. Hopefully they'll settle down in a minute. They've been very feisty today. Yes, Nina, homemade sausage rolls. Yum. Yum. Excellent. Okay, so it's been cold and miserable here. Meredith goat cheese. Yum. Oh, I've got my first photo coming through. Some dumplings. Very nice. Very nice. We've got a special guest joining us. He's just wandered off, but he's going to come back. Richard is coming to join us in the virtual tasting room today. Claire's brought the whole team. Hi, Claire. Hello, everyone. Yes, I did some of those deliveries yesterday. Lovely to see all the new team here. I hope you enjoyed the tasting. I hope you've got your wine. Yeah, excellent. Hi, Richard. Do you want to come and say hello? Look, we've got a man down.
Wounded soldier.
Richard has had a shoulder reconstruction. How are you going? Do you need some painkiller?
Well, yeah, maybe. That's a good thought. I'm going well.
Excellent. Hi, Natalia. How are you going? Well, I'm going to pop some wine in our glasses. Now, you'll notice there was no crack when I opened that just then. So I've done, do you want to sit down, Richard? Would that be more comfortable? So I've done my other little trick that you can do if you don't have a decanter, or if you just want to see how a wine looks and you open it up and it seems a bit closed and a bit tight, then you can pour out a glass and you go, oh, it's a bit closed. I don't actually want to drink that right now. So you put the lid back on again and you come back to it later in the evening, the next day. You've just got a little bit of air in there, and that's just started the oxidation what am I trying to say? Process. Thank you, Richard. Mm-hmm. It's been a very long day. And it means that you can pour straight from the bottle. If any of you have just cracked your bottle open and have a decanter on hand, I would give this a brisk decant into the decanter. Otherwise, pour it roughly into your glass. Pour it waffly into your glass. Polly's being very wuff at the moment. And give it a bit of a swirl to get some air into it. Hang on, I don't think we've looked at the label yet. I'm all excited about getting the wine in the glass and having Dad here. Garden Vineyard 2018. Hey, McFalls, you guys, your fruit is starring tonight. Richard Barry says hi. Barry Sweeney says hi. And Franco de Giorgio in the Cunora cracks the stelv and then shakes the bottle. Yeah, we're not that uncouth.
We're talking about very young wines here, aren't we, that might need a little bit of air in them to help them open up. You wouldn't want to do that to an older wine, I don't think.
Or a more delicate wine. I probably wouldn't do that to, say, a Robinson Pinot from us, because it's just a little bit purer. It's already opening up and showing itself a bit. Barry Sweeney says, Richard, I'm going to read this for you because I crack, shake, decanter, then pour through a sieve. That's pretty extreme. Do you know what, Barry? I reckon that's fantastic for a really young Cabernet or maybe a really young Nebbiolo or Sangiovese or something like that. I think a Pinot Noir maybe slightly more gentle. But, whatever works for you. If the wine tastes better after that, go for it. Polly and Frodo, cut it out.
Very obedient dogs.
I'm just going to show you guys what's going on over there. That's the piano. There's a dog fight. They're having yes, that's enough of that.
It's a bit of yin and yang.
They're having a wrestle for supremacy. It's all going on. Hi, everyone. Lovely to see you. Emily and Kevin, g'day. So, apart from the fact that you felt like a glass of wine, Richard, I thought it would be really nice for you to join us for a little chat. And you don't have to stay for the whole session if you don't want to. You're very welcome to. I'm not kicking you out at any stage. But if you get bored, feel free to wander off.
I will.
But Simon and Angela are having dumplings. Hurrah! And she had her mask around her arm, so her elbow couldn't give them coronavirus. Okay. Excellent. Well, as long as you've steamed those dumplings, they should be okay. So I thought I should ask, because this one, we talked last weekend about the Pinot Gris on skins being my little pet project and how it was something that I was really keen to experiment with, and so we did. This is Richard's pet project, really. This is a winemaking technique that you love playing with, isn't it? The whole bunch fermentation. So do you want to take the floor and tell us why do you enjoy making, why do you make wine with whole bunch fermentation?
Well, I think the main incentive was to see if we can get a little bit more good tannins into Pinot Noir and still retain balance and all the attractive things that we look for in Pinot Noir. And it doesn't always work. Sometimes the influence of the stems, and these wines can smell quite green stemmy, can be the dominant character, and if that happens, then it's not really a very successful experiment from my point of view. We've been making the Garden Vineyard Backlog MV6 this way for a decade.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean by MV6, Richard?
MV6.
Yeah.
Stands for Mother Vine 6. It's a clone, and it's been in Australia since about 1830.
Yeah.
And it is a clone that in certainly some sites on the Mornington Peninsula can produce wonderful results, wonderful wines. Sometimes it can be a little bit sort of dark fruited and all base notes, but when it works well, I think it's terrific. And I think this wine, made this way, usually works very well indeed. So getting back to the structure, I think some people believe that Pinot Noir should have not much tannin at all, that it's a light, delicate sort of wine that you don't want it to have the sort of structure that you're looking for in some other red wines. And I think that's
nothing to see here.
That's not necessarily the best way to go. And I think that we see structural input into wines that are made in a more conventional way, particularly with vines getting a little bit of extra age on them. But I always like to play around with these whole bunch ferments where the stems are included in the macerating must, which is the time when with the red wine you've got the skins and the seeds, and in this case the stems as well, in a sort of wet environment where you will get extraction of these things, in particular the tannins and the colour in red wine from these components. So I think, as I said, this works pretty well most years with the Garden Vineyard back block, and it is my project, if you like.
Yeah. Craig Goodman has pointed out, Dad, that he's seeing a lot more tannin than the other Pinots that we make. It's really nicely balanced, though, with strong earthy flavours, which I think that's definitely the profile that we're looking for. We're looking for that extra tannin. The tannin's a slightly different shape because we're getting those tannins out of the stalks. We're getting those earthy kind of roasted root vegetable characters. It's just a really for me, it's a real winter's wine, particularly when it's young. It just makes me want to, when I was talking about the food matches for you guys this week, I was talking about roast lamb, I was talking about slow roasted vegetables, I was talking about parsnips and potatoes and sausage rolls and slow cooked meat in little party pies and things like that. I think that all of those flavours work really, really well with this wine because it does have that extra tannin. It's got really lovely acid structure as well, so that kind of cleans it up. But it's savoury, and I think that absolutely we do this for the flavour profile and the structure that we get from it. But I think you also do it, Richard, for the fun.
Yes,
it's
indeed.
quite a fun way to make wine, isn't it?
Yep.
You just kind of put it in a fermenter and then walk around on top of it and squash it with your feet.
Well, we leave it alone for about a week, actually. And so we get a carbonic maceration sort of character, which can give you lifted aromas and things.
A little bit of Campari.
And, the savoury input, I think, can be really good. We get sweet fruitedness in this part of the world very easily, and that can be a lovely thing. But sometimes it can be even better if you've got something savoury balancing it a bit. And that's another part of the aim of this
absolutely
technique.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you're right, Ansel. Punching down full whole bunch ferments or lots of stalks in the ferment, very hard work early on. But the walking around on top of it is quite fun, and Dad doesn't let anyone else do it except for him. He's very possessive of that part of the winemaking. But it's great. It's and I think that also, he mentioned the clone MV6. Now that's it's just the one clone planted in that block that goes into this wine. And I think that Pinot Noir lovers and Pinot Noir geeks and Pinot Noir makers. Sorry, just checking the comments. Barry, definitely pepper. And Scott, I'm glad that you're potentially thinking about converting back to Pinot. Australian Pinot has come a long way in the last 10 years, hasn't it, Richard? And I think that structure, complexity, weight, deliciousness, that character that wine has that makes you want to have more and have some delicious food with it rather than it making you tired halfway through the glass or you get sick of it after a while. I think that we've got much better at making Pinot Noir that's really Moorish. It just wants you to have a little bit more, a little sip more, and it makes you a bit hungry and a bit thirsty. And I think that works. I think that works really, really well for it. But I was just going to say that often we talk about the mix of clones to bring complexity and depth to Pinot Noir. And here, I think one of the reasons that the whole bunch ferment is so complementary to this wine is that it is a single clonal wine, and so we're getting complexity and depth from a winemaking technique rather than from blending different clones together to get different highs and lows.
Not forgetting vineyard, of course.
Of course. So it's a lovely, the Garden Vineyard is not far from here. We wave across the hill to a couple of you who are watching with your Meredith goat's cheese, Sue and Daryl, and I think it's a special vineyard, and Dad has done little experimental parcels of different Pinots from different vineyards that we either own or lease that go towards one or more of the Moorooduc Estate Pinots, and they've been more or less successful, haven't they? I mean, I think this is the one that really is the biggest success for whole bunch and works best with this technique year in, year out. So yeah, it's pretty good, pretty interesting. Well done.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers.
Congratulations for making a beautiful wine, and thank you for sharing it with us. Let me check.
I might leave you now, shall I?
Okay. Yeah, I'm just checking to see if anyone's asking any more questions of you.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff wants to know, can the clonal mix be important for adding to complexity?
Well, yes, I think it can, but a mix of good clones can be very positive. But one of the things I think I learned very quickly down here, particularly when we were making wines for some other people, having the same clone, about the same age, about the same management, coming from a number of different sites. The clone is important, but I think the site is much more important. The idea that that a vineyard site, there's something. Sometimes you look at it and you say, "Well, that looks like a good vineyard site."
Yep.
And sometimes you're wrong. There's always something mysterious about it.
It's that subtle combination of everything, isn't it? Yeah. It's the soil, it's the aspect, it's the amount of water that hits the soil when in the season it hits it, what other weather events happen, which way the vineyard's facing, all of those things. It's always those subtle differences between all the different vineyards will have an effect on the flavour of the wine, which I think is one of the coolest things about the sort of wine that we make and that we like to drink, is that it's small batch. You know not only what vintage the wine comes from and what variety it comes from, but at this level, you know exactly the plot of land that comes from, and we can be very specific about the flavours that come from that plot of land from that particular vintage. There are a few people who are asking about vintage and what this vintage was like compared to others. This is the 2018. Did you have time to give us a quick précis on the 2018 vintage for this wine?
Yeah, sure. 2018 was an unusually good season in terms of weather. It did create some issues in that some of the vineyards were cropping much higher than we realised. And Hugh Robinson, who's a viticulturist and a very good friend, he's absolutely fanatical about getting very accurate crop estimates, and he was surprised at how much fruit was on the vines, and I think that we made some adjustments very appropriately to get to the sort of cropping levels that we wanted, as well as having the benefits of the good weather over that season. So we think it's a terrific vintage, but that was the sort of caveat. You had to get the cropping levels right.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it is my chance to eat, Shell, but I didn't bring any food. Jill's making me dinner. I'm going to stay here for dinner tonight, so I'll be well fed. It's going to be okay. But thank you. I should have just got some food and shoveled it in while Richard was talking. Scott Thompson wants to know, how do these Pinots age? And I think all of our Pinots age very well these days, partly because the vines have significant age, and so the older the vines are up to a certain point, the better, the more complexity you get and the more structure you get, and so therefore the more ageability you often get. It's not always the case, but certainly we're seeing that with our vineyards. I think that particularly this wine, the Garden Vineyard, you're right, Barry, with tannins like this, it's going to age for quite a while. I'm really enjoying, we had a bottle of the 2010 Garden Vineyard Pinot a little while ago, and that looked fantastic. So that's 10 years old now, and it's still got plenty of get up and go. It's not going to fall over anytime soon, and I think this wine is better than that wine was when it was first released. So, I think that there's a I'm always on about myth busting in this drinks with these guys. There's a bit of a myth that Australian Pinot doesn't age, and that's old news. That's not true. It's these days good Australian Pinot ages very well, particularly under screw cap. The screw cap does help to slow things down a little bit. You're right, Jeff. The 12 still has years on it, and 12 was a slightly cooler year, but still really nice structure and really nice ripeness, a bit more restrained. Terrific food wine now, but with some age. If you can be bothered, if you've got a good cellar and you can be bothered to put it down, I would recommend buying at least a dozen and putting it down and drinking it slowly over much time.
Yes. A lot of this is subjective. I mean, some people prefer the characters of young wines, and some prefer a little bit more maturity, and it's all subjective.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think, if you enjoy drinking wine when it's young and fruity, then don't put it down for a long time because it's going to disappoint you. If you like those more savoury, developed, aged characters in wine, then by all means, age it. Barry wants to know the aspect of the block. I'm glad I didn't let you go because there's technical.
It's mainly west facing, but it wouldn't get the late afternoon sun as much because it's got a ridge just to the west, so the sun would set earlier on the back block Garden Vineyard than it does on our vineyard. As Kate said, it's very close, just stone's throw.
Yeah.
It's got a little bit of slightly north, but it's only a gentle west-facing slope.
Barry's asking also about the winds. How windy? Does it get fairly exposed, or?
Well, it's more sheltered than here, I think.
Yeah.
But we all get some strong winds from time to time.
Yeah. Wind, hail, rain.
We do.
It's all part of the fun down here, isn't it?
It is.
Thank you, Richard.
Okay.
What's that? So Barry is asking, so it's protected west. Perfect. Haha. Kate has said that she loved the fruit and spice. Dad can't read the words. They're a bit too small for him without his reading glasses on, aren't they? So I'm not reading it for you guys. I'm just reading it for him. So Kate said she loved the fruit and spice notes that came through after the wine was open for an hour. Can't wait to taste it again in a year. That's exactly right, Kate. I think it's a wine that will really appreciate a bit of aging. Jeff is stirring the pot, asking us if it's a clean wine. We've been having some discussions here. I know I had a bit of a rant about it last week, but there's been more articles that have come out about clean wine, and in fact, with the crazy definition of clean wine by this another American who wrote the article that Jeff and I were talking about today, and Richard and I were talking about today. In fact, this is a clean wine. Because she defined regular wine as being filled with all sorts of toxic additives, but clean wine has a vintage and a variety and a sense of place all on the label for everyone to see.
And they're made of grapes.
This wine is made of pretty much just grapes. So I think it's about as clean as you can get.
I think we've still got on our back label that it's made with very little intervention, but just touch of quality control. I think describes what we're trying to do quite well.
Yeah, absolutely. And Barry, I totally agree with you. The earthiness of this wine, you don't, and I think this is part of the problem with this whole discussion that I started last week and that we've been reading up on. There's a movement it's sort of a marketing movement in America, basically run by a few celebrities, trying to say that all wine except for the wine that they sell is filled with chemicals and therefore it's dirty. And it's the chemicals in the wine and the additives in the wine that give you a headache, not the alcohol, which I would also have to a certain extent agree with. But I think saying that getting rid of all of the additives and just leaving the pure natural alcohol for the liver to process happily is probably a slight exaggeration of the health-giving benefits of alcohol. So no, Barry, clean isn't a statement about taste, flavour, and we will get off the whole. Yes, Cameron Diaz, we'll get off the whole clean wine thing now. Thank you, Chair. But I think that in Australia, a lot of wines were in early days particularly criticised as being just fruit-driven, sunshine in a glass, and just sort of clean fruit characters and no earthiness, no complexity, no minerality. And I think this wine has got. Oh, Craig, stop it. Craig said, I'm there, Cameron Diaz. Thanks, Craig. You guys are hilarious. But yeah, I think this wine is the antithesis of that sort of Aussie sunshine in a glass, kind of a simple, fruity, strawberry, cherry, no structure Pinot. This is a Pinot that you can get your teeth into and let all those savoury flavours kind of evolve and develop in the glass. That's why we have a whole bottle of it, and particularly in ISO, most of us are living in households of somewhere between 1 and maybe 4 people, I would say. And so that means that you can drink that bottle. Actually, you can drink that bottle if you just opened it tonight. You can drink that bottle really happily over the next 2 nights. If you don't feel like drinking it all tonight, by all means, drink it all tonight if it takes your fancy. But a wine like this, particularly because it's got so much structure and so much going on, it's going to hold together with half a bottle missing. You don't even need to worry about decanting it into a half bottle if you're going to drink the other half tomorrow night. It'll just evolve and it'll be delicious tomorrow. I do that all the time at home. It's not just because I'm lazy. Retirees drink. What percentage of this wine is made of grapes? 100%. 100% grapes. We don't add yeast. We don't add. What was that other thing? What was that thing, Jeff? Mega purple. We don't add any mega purple to our wine. That's just, you know.
Yeah, only we could find some.
Only we could find some mega purple. It would be really cool. We do use a little bit of sulphur, and if you'd like me to make a statement about our philosophy on sulphur, we can leave that for another night, but we can certainly, we believe in judicious use of sulphur at the right time, in the right quantities, not too much, just the right amount to make sure that the wine is beautiful for you to drink and not vinegar. Hurrah. Okay, you don't want to know what mega purple, I don't even know if it's really called mega purple. It's just one of the things that bumped out of the whole, came out of the whole article that I read today and ranted at everyone that I could get my hands on. It's all right. I'm okay now. I've had a sip of this delicious clean wine and I'm feeling much better about the world. Thanks, Richard.
Okay.
Cheers. Okay, cheers.
Bye.
See you later. Now, what is it? How big are the grapes? Well, everyone's getting very excited now. Polly's jumped up on the sofa. We're in for a bit of a session. The clean wine concept is linked to organic or biodynamic wines, Kevin, and the problem with the article is that it's sort of this pseudoscience that this woman has mixed all sorts of ideas together and has suggested that anything that you add to wine is going to be evil and toxic. And there are a lot of horrible things that people can add to wine that obviously we don't, and that are added to big vats of steaming mass-produced wines. And there are all sorts of things you can do to make wine taste in a certain way or another way, but you know, being organic or biodynamic doesn't guarantee that the winemaking is going to be any cleaner than a small winery that grows fruit with love and care and makes the wine with love and care. So it's one of those little things that got me angry last week and got me angry again today. And I just think there's so much misinformation that goes out there. It's crazy. Maybe we should make a movie about it. Really are quite small, and the Pinot Noir grapes that we get here, how many grapes are in a bottle? Does it count as one of your 5 a day? Definitely counts as one of your 5 a day fruit and veg. I couldn't tell you how many grapes are in a bottle. I'll have to defer to Richard's gone now, thank goodness. I'll have to get back to you on that. WA Warrior 101. But the grapes are very small, and the good thing about small grapes for winemaking is that you have quite a high juice to skin ratio. Thank you, Ansel. About 1.1 kilos of grapes per bottle of wine. See, we just get a couple of winemakers on board, and it's all good. It's nice to have you tuning in, Ansel, as well. I think I said hello to you before, but hello again. Small grapes, high skin to juice ratio, which means that you get good colour. I mean, Pinot Noir is not a thick-skinned grape variety, and it's not so you don't necessarily get a huge amount of colour from Pinot Noir, but good colour and those tannins from the skin's really important. Gets all of the extra savoury flavour into the wine. So yeah. What else? I think it's probably it's been a bit. See, I bring the winemaker in. I get all the serious questions. Natalia, I don't know why these articles are always on our drinking days. It could have something to do with the fact that I had an extra 15 minutes in bed with my Facebook account and my cup of tea this morning and read a bit too much stupidness today. But I think there's a lot of talk about that sort of stuff, and there is a clean living movement going on in the world. There's a lot of people who are trying to cut down on perfumes and things in makeup, which is certainly something that I do, because if I want to wear any makeup ever, then it has to not have perfume in it, because otherwise it'll get in the way of my wine tasting, which is not good. Clean eating is definitely a real thing, Kay. A lot of people are choosing to buy organic or biodynamic fruit and veg because they're worried about what's been sprayed on them otherwise. I think the concept is something we should take seriously. I get really cranky because there's so much misinformation going out there. It's like the anti-alcohol lobby, and let's not even go there tonight. But it's about people who kind of lump everything together and say it's all bad without sort of understanding the nuances and understanding what they're talking about, really. So that's enough of all of that. I think a lovely complex Pinot Noir. Who made the best homemade sausage rolls? I'm looking forward to photos. How many bottles of wine would you recommend as best for a dinner party of 4? I was thinking 5, 6, 2. So my responsible service of alcohol hat on. It's a half to 3/4 of a bottle of wine is probably a good amount to be looking at for a dinner. But it's always good to have a couple of backups in case you open something that doesn't taste as good as you expected it to. If it's under a cork, then the cork might have failed you, and so therefore you might need to go on to a different bottle of wine because you've got cork taint or random oxidation. And depending how long the dinner party's going on, WA Warrior, that will probably define how many bottles of wine you feel like getting through. But if anyone's driving home, then no more than 100 ml glass of wine an hour for the first 3 hours, and then no more. So catch a taxi or a Uber on your way home or stay over for your dinner party. Ansel, I don't have any sausage rolls here either. It's very sad. It's very sad. Now, I did want to let you guys know, because, you might have noticed I've got a sparkly thing on me, and Ansel will be particularly interested to know about this, being a Master of Wine student. This is my Master of Wine badge. So this proves that I'm a Master of Wine. They just brought them in. I said we should have pinky rings, but instead these lovely little gold pins. And on the back, I probably won't be able to read it because it's so dark in here. On the back, it says my number. So I can now tell you, hang on a sec, old age, have to take my glasses off. I am the 335th person in the world ever to have got my Master of Wine. There you go. I thought I'd wear my pin. I'm doing another tasting later tonight. I think there's a couple of you who might be logging into that as well. So I thought I'd wear my fancy pin for the next group who maybe don't know me as well as you guys do. but yeah, I forget to wear it. I forget I've got this bit of bling. The English MWs think it's a bit crass, and the Americans love it. So I'm sort of somewhere in between. Yeah. Jeff, you forgot the sausage rolls. Warrandyte. Yeah. So. Oh, you were there yesterday. You could have got them. It does look like duck merch, absolutely. And we might get some duck merch gold pins. I think that would be quite nice. We haven't branched out into gold yet for the duck stuff, but yeah, you just wait. We might have to have a little Kate's Thursday night tasting pin for the long-term members of the tasting group. All right, guys. I think I'll leave it there. We've passed over the 30-minute mark, and you guys have probably got delicious food to eat and each other to talk to. So we will leave it there. Next week, what are we drinking next week? Ducks are super cool, Ansel. This wine could be used for cooking if you like, WA Warrior. It would work as most wines. I would say, if you're going to cook with wine, you want to be able to at least drink it and not be horrified by it. So yeah, you could use this for cooking if you like. It's normally. Oh, so that's the other thing I was going to say. So we have. You might not have noticed, but your tasting boxes are somewhat discounted from if you were buying these wines as single bottles. This bottle retails for $60 a bottle. So if you want to spend $60 on a cooking wine, absolutely go for it. I'm going to drink mine. But if you leave a bit of it for a week and it's got a bit oxidized, it doesn't taste so good, then absolutely use it for cooking with. It certainly doesn't need to be thrown out. Yeah. Next week we've got the Robert WA couple. Oh, Craig, don't be rude. Sydney boy, New South Wales man. Yes, Jeff, if you wouldn't drink it, don't cook with it. And the best example of that was when I was in Piedmont in Italy, and they make this dish called brasato al Barolo, and they use Barolo to cook a piece of beef, slow cook a piece of beef, and they use the best Barolo they can get their hands on. So that I probably wouldn't, but should I use this cooking wine? But buy a 6-pack for your cellar. Absolutely, Ansel. Bit of cooking, bit of drinking. It makes cooking more fun, makes the drinking more enjoyable because you got something to eat at the end of it. Next week, we've got another aged Pinot Gris for you, and this is also... You're sensing a little bit of a theme here. Next week, we've got the Garden Vineyard, single vineyard Pinot Gris from 2012, I think. Is that right, Jeff? Yes, 2012 Garden Vineyard Pinot Gris. You should have one of those in your box. We're going to taste that next week. We're going to play with some food and wine matching again. And you'll want to have that cold, but not too cold. And we'll talk about that next week. Have a lovely evening, everyone. Have a wonderful week. Don't forget to wear your masks if you're out and about in Melbourne. Otherwise, stay safe, stay well. Only drink good wine, clean wine. Take care, everyone. Cheers.